Okay, so I started the recording. So this is our 2021 Healthy Food Reset. We did it twice last year, but the first one was much more successful. We didn't have as much momentum going into the second one. So I am happy to do it again if people would like to. But I bring that up just because I want to remind you that this journey of trying to eat really colorful, really diverse foods, as best we can, is a kind of an ongoing process. And it's absolutely fine to occasionally need to do a reset and feel like you've sort of, when you look at your plate, it's not as colorful as you want it to be. And that's basically our goal, is just how colorful can we get our plates to be, or our bowls. Sometimes it's more fun to eat from a bowl. And I just want to ask if anyone has a journal or a piece of paper, or even if you just want to type. We're going to do a little bit of reflecting halfway through, and then we're going to have plenty of time to talk about recipes and logistics. But I would love to start with just 15 minutes of kind of the why. Why do we want to kind of reset? And, a little bit of science behind it, but not too much. Feel free to unmute if you have any questions as we start off, or type in the chat, and I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here, documents. Okay, so first thing I should say is timing wise. There we go, I have everything open. Timing wise, I would love it if we could start our food reset on Thursday. And the reason we're meeting today is to give us some time to get ready. So does that mean that you should eat, I don't know, what's the worst thing you could possibly eat for the next 3 days? It's okay, but I'm just saying we're not going to start today because we simply just need a little bit of time to prepare. So I'm going to try to share as much as I can with you. I know Lauren and Kelly did last year too. But if you guys would like to share photos or post things on Instagram, our Instagram is primitive.family, and our Facebook is the Functional Medicine Center of Durham. And let me see if I can actually type those in the chat here. So if you want to post any photos as we go through this, I would love it. I took a couple of photos yesterday that I will post when we hang up, just so you can kind of see. Like, we had some squash last night, and then we also had some leafy greens and some chicken, and there was I forgot the last vegetable, but it looked very colorful because there was all different colored veggies on the plate. And so I'm going to post that when we hang up, so you can kind of see a little tidbit, a little peek into our lives. And I want to tell you that my kids are 9 and 7, and they're participating in this with us, and they did it last time and they loved it. That's not what I meant to say. The Functional Medicine Center of Durham. So the first one is our Instagram, and then the Functional Medicine Center of Durham is our Facebook. Okay, so let me share my screen, and then we'll get going. So last time we actually used these little kits to help the kids, where you actually get stickers. So let me know if you need those kits. I see Dan's on the call, and Rachel Pollard, who's our Qigong practitioner, she actually gave them out. So let me know if you need a kit to help little kids participate. Okay, so can everybody see my slides here? So this first one's very boring. So imagine there's a rainbow on the slide. Okay, so why should we try to eat healthy? So, there are 140,000 chemicals in the US on the market, 140,000. There are new ones approved to the effect that it's like 20 new chemicals every minute are actually approved in this country, which sounds crazy. I can't imagine that that's a real statistic, but it's real. There was a study back in 2003 that basically showed us that there were 91 chemicals on average found in a newborn baby's first bowel movement. So that's a little bit concerning. Also, 287 chemicals were found in cord blood. That was that same year, 2003. So I imagine, because we've approved so many chemicals since then, that these numbers are much worse in 2021, but that's just what I imagine. And then dioxins, you know, this is just kind of an example of some of the chemicals that we might come into contact with in our daily life. A lot of crazy abbreviations because I didn't want to write out the long chemical names, but you know, there's a lot of chlorines, there's a lot of plastics, there's a lot of phthalates, all of these things that we add to things to make them, you know, plastic is very convenient, but also leaches into our food and our water. Similarly, chlorine is very nice because it kills germs, but it's also toxic. So, you know, I put some pictures here because I wanted to remind you all that even makeup that seems clean often has different components to make it so that it is more matte or not shiny. And even makeup that's kind of marketed as organic can contain a lot of chemicals. So be very careful with some of the marketing. The EWG is a great website to use. And at the end of our visit today, our talk, I also have an email that I'll send out that basically just lists some of the websites that I use to look things up. There's also an app for your phone, ladies, if you wear makeup, called Skin Deep, where you can actually type in the makeup and just see what's in it. You know, the other thing is, you know, in addition to face powders, things like lipsticks or mascara, if it's a dark color, there often are heavy metals. So red lipstick is known to still have lead in it, still today. So we have to be careful, because I think we sometimes assume that somebody's testing the product that we're using, and that's not necessarily true. A lot of things are tested, but the acceptable low level of use is much higher than a lot of functional medicine providers think it should be, because we're not exposed to just one chemical every day. It's the combination of the synergy effect that is actually what's making us sick. So in 2011, the WHO stated that there were 4.9 million deaths that year worldwide that were a direct cause from environmental chemicals. So that was just in 2011, and 24%, this is what they say, the WHO, that 24% of global disease burden is actually modifiable environmental factors. So I actually think that's good news, because, you know, less than 10% is genetic. So if we have a lot of control over changing our environment and what's coming into our bodies and into our homes, then I actually think we can prevent a lot of disease. So that's kind of the way I take those statistics, is I would rather that there were modifiable environmental factors as opposed to like permanent genetic factors going on. We know that things like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's, which a lot of people think are mostly genetic, there's actually a very small component that is genetic, less than 10%. So the good news is you can change your risk of any different diseases that run in your family. You actually have the power to change it. So I like that, because my grandmother died with really bad dementia, and I don't want dementia, right? So the other thing I wanted to point out, this picture here is 7th generation disinfectant. It looks really nice, right? So I could sit here and I could name all the different chemicals that are in the different products, but I don't know that that's helpful for the purposes today. This label looks so natural and organic and nice, and 7th Generation is a company that a lot of people trust, but most of their products contain a lot of different organochlorines, a lot of different plastics, even pesticides, and so you have to be careful. There are certain brands that we can trust. The two locally, or the two, you know, that are easy to find that I would say are Burt's Bees is pretty good in general, and Mrs. Meyer's. Those are both pretty good. But why not look at that a little differently? All of the sort of conventional cleaning products in our homes, we can make much safer cleaning products. Usually things like vinegar and baking soda, and essential oils, you know, they work better. And they're safer, especially with kids and pets, right? So, but keep in mind that over time, as we age, we accumulate any of these toxins that are in our environment. We accumulate heavy metals, we accumulate pesticides and Roundup. And so a lot of what we refer to as aging is actually just accumulation of toxins. So imagine if you could kind of reduce the toxins that you are exposed to or get them out of your body faster, then you would be able to slow down the aging process. And I think that is usually a good motivator for a lot of us. All right, I only have 5 slides here. Let me see if I can go to the next one though. Oops, somehow it skipped. There we go. Okay, so what do we need to help our bodies detox? So first of all, the liver goes through 2 phases in order to detox almost every single pharmaceutical, antibiotic, toxin, heavy metal that we're exposed to. I see that there's something in the chat. Can everybody see my slide? Yay, Kelly said, woohoo to slow aging. So there's 2 different phases here, and different toxins are eliminated during different parts, but in general, most toxins actually have to go through both phase 1 and phase 2 detox. So the reason I bring it up is not so we dive too much into the biochemistry here, but just so that you understand that in order to actually bind toxins, to eliminate them in the liver and eventually in the stool, the urine, or the sweat, in order to eliminate them, we need protein. Low protein diets cause us to actually hold on to any of the toxins and chemicals that are in our environment. So this is concerning because a lot of Americans are eating very high calorie diets, like the standard American diet is very high calorie, but a big percentage of that is not protein, right? A big percentage of that is carbohydrates. So the good news is, as we go through this 10-day reset, I'm encouraging you to eat as much protein as you can. It is very, very hard to eat too much protein. And the good thing is that it usually fills people up and then they don't crave the sort of empty white bread carbs or sugar as much. Now, having said that, I want to pause for a moment and just remind you that we are going to do this the best we can. There's no such thing as a perfect participant or a perfect diet, and that's totally awesome. We are here to try to just encourage each other to keep going. So if you have a meal that you realize doesn't have enough protein, it's not a big deal. It's just a matter of moving forward to the next meal and not throwing your hands up and completely giving up. So the other thing is we really need fiber in order to detox really well. We need fiber in order to pull the fat-soluble toxins into the stool. And we need soluble and insoluble fiber. And in order to actually make the stool and keep everything moving, we need enough hydration or enough water. We also need B vitamins. So B vitamins are essential, and you can actually see here they listed B2, B3, B6, B12 is needed in phase 1 detox. In phase 2, we need B5 and B12. Now, B6 is also needed to make all of our hormones. B2 and B3 are also needed for our nerve health. Folic acid is considered B9. So there's a lot of different B vitamins that we need in order to get the toxins out. Sulfur-rich vegetables are also really important. So sulfur-rich vegetables in general are the brassica or the cruciferous vegetables. So broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. And if you can eat one of those, even if there's only one you like and you just have a certain recipe you like, that's okay. If you can eat one of those every single day, you're going to detox much better. And you're just gonna, it's also gonna turn over your hormones a lot faster. And this helps both men and women with hormone balance. I already kind of mentioned hydration. We talked about hydration in our wellness class. In general, you wanna eat you wanna drink half of your body weight in water every single day. More if you sweat, more if you're breastfeeding, more if you're detoxing because you're kind of like dumping a high heavy metal load. The program that we're going to do, the 10-day reset, is very safe. So we're not going to dump stuff into the bloodstream or into the stool too quickly for our body to be able to process it. So that's the beautiful thing about it, that even people who are pregnant or breastfeeding or feeling very sick can still go through this. And then Tina said, is sulfur in itself beneficial like in eggs? It is. Now, choline is also really beneficial, which is in eggs, and choline's over here in the phase 2 part. However, some people are reacting to eggs. So in my family, we actually have, my daughter is getting over pandas, and she and I both cannot have eggs. So we're basically off of them for like a year because we're reacting to them. So you can do other things to get sulfur if you can't eat eggs, but if you can, great. Okay, last two things are just movement and sweat. So, you know, nothing will keep you pooping better than movement. We've got to keep moving. What does that look like? You know, a lot of us have adrenal dysfunction. A lot of us have, our cortisol is not perfect, and our stress level is high, and COVID has made that worse, and trying to juggle all these things is tricky. Trust me, I know, because this past year has been more stressful for me than I could have imagined, just trying to do schooling with my kids at the same time as, you know, treating people that have COVID. However, mindful movement could be something like getting up and moving for 5 minutes on the hour every hour, and just literally lifting up your arms and taking an inhale and exhale and touch your toes, or 10-minute walk in the morning, 10-minute walk after dinner. You know, it's very simple and slow. Mindful movement does not have to be, in fact, I prefer that it's not like an hour of CrossFit every day. And that's because if you over exercise, you'll be dehydrated, and you will also mess with your cortisol. So if you have questions for me about you personally and how much you should be exercising, please let me know. In general, everybody here I know could be taking a 10-minute walk, and everybody could try to stand up on the hour and just take a big inhale and exhale. So when I say movement, I just want you to know I'm talking about in moderation. And then the last thing, of course, is sweating. You know, one of the best ways to get rid of heavy metals and mold toxins is actually sweating. But friendly reminder, you've got to get the toxins off of you. So if you sweat them out and your pores are open and you don't wipe the sweat off or take a shower, it just goes, a lot of it goes back in. So if you're doing a sauna, or if you're doing a really hot bath or a really hot shower, or you're exercising with a lot of clothes on to try to sweat, great, but peel that all off of you as fast as possible. Okay, so Hitson asked a question about, is it recommended for sulfur-rich vegetables to be consumed raw? Nope. Or consuming them cooked also beneficial? So in general, we as a community do not have the microbiota to digest raw vegetables. Raw fruits, there are some we can eat, but when we're doing any sort of detox or gut healing reset, cooked food only. And you know, there are exceptions to that. Like if you want to put some blueberries in your smoothies, great. But I actually would prefer everybody focus on cooking their food before they eat it. You know, you can kind of wilt your greens for 60 seconds, 90 seconds in a pan, and they're not mushy, so you don't take the flavor out of them. But so you don't have to overcook, but in general, everyone here will detox and digest their food better if they eat cooked food, not raw. And so many people on the call have thyroid issues. We never want to consume raw broccoli or raw Brussels sprouts when we have thyroid issues, or raw cabbage either. So no raw, little tiny bits of raw if your stomach can handle it, but in general, cook your food. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to stop my share. Let me go back. Spinach in a smoothie. Good question, Megan. So you can cook it first and then freeze it, which sounds pretty gross to some people. I don't mind if you want to do raw kale in your smoothie, but you should not in general be eating raw spinach because it contains oxalic acid, which actually blocks the absorption of a lot of the calcium and the B vitamins. So raw spinach is a no. You can have raw kale though. If you think about it, if you ever ate like a raw spinach salad, and you feel that coating on the roof of your mouth, the hard palate, that is the oxalic acid, and that's not great. Same thing with raw almonds, things like that. You can actually block the absorption of the calcium. Okay, so let me make sure I went only one. So the basics of this food reset are basically get enough water. I'm okay with it being herbal tea as long as it's not all herbal tea. Some of it has to be water. Again, half your body weight if you can. Preferably out of a glass container, like a big quart mason jar. Fill it up so you know at the beginning of the day. Mindful movement, I already mentioned, but I'm asking you to try to commit, if you can, to 10 to 15 minutes. It's nothing crazy. I think all of us, though, probably feel better if we get outside and we get a walk, right? I think most people here either have a dog or a child as an excuse to get outside. The third thing is we're going to eat a phytonutrient-rich diet. So what does that mean? It just means it's very colorful. That's all that the phyto means. So colorful diet. If I love apples and you don't love apples, that's totally fine. Is there a different fruit or vegetable that's red that you like that you can eat? So I'm asking you to try to find different foods that are different colors of the rainbow that you actually enjoy eating. I don't expect anybody here to eat similarly to the person next to them. I want you to find the things that you like. Mind reset. So toxic thoughts, and we could do a whole workshop just on toxic thoughts, but toxic thoughts can really sabotage us. And so the only thing I'm asking you to do is not to change them, but just spend 10 days, if you can, noticing what your thoughts are. So I was actually thinking about this because I'm taking a class on hormones and my professor brought it up. And as many of you know, I'm doing the Institute for Functional Medicine's certification program. So I have one more semester and I have to write my dissertation. But this last class I'm taking is on hormones. And at the end of the lecture on testosterone, my professor, who's this awesome naturopath in Maryland, he started talking about how toxic thoughts actually directly affect the pituitary, which affects the production of testosterone. And so we know for sure, we have the science to prove that our thoughts will biochemically change us. And I think, so what I did last night was, Josh and I were talking about this last night, and I just said, what if instead of trying to push them away or change them, every time we thought something that was a little bit maybe hard on ourselves, maybe something we wouldn't say out loud to a friend, that we just stopped and we just noticed it. So that's all I'm suggesting is as we go through this 10-day reset, that you just take an opportunity, if you can, if it's not too much, to just notice the thoughts. Are there thoughts that you have where you already are sabotaging yourself? And that's what we'll do in a few minutes. We'll kind of do a little journal activity. So, and then the last thing is deep breathing. We know that you can inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide, and get everything moving. You can get the bowel moving, the urine moving, the sweat moving. You can get yourself out of fight and flight and into rest and digest and into detox. And so deep breathing is really important. Something as simple as inhale for 7, hold for 4, exhale for 7. That's it. Don't try to make it too complicated because then it's just going to make your cortisol go up, right? Okay. This is the last one. I just wanted to show you guys, do we need supplements? So in general, I think as you go through any program where you're trying to feel better and do a lot for your health, it's kind of nice to have a multivitamin that you can trust. The only 2 brands that I recommend right now, based on my recent research of, going back and reviewing, like, I guess maybe I could put the Thorne prenatal on here, but that's it. Thorne, Perk, and Pure Encapsulations are the only multivitamins I recommend. So there's a Garden of Life one, but they've subbed out the B12 for cyanocobalamin. There's a few other brands on the market. Oh, New Chapter Organics has also subbed out cheap ingredients for the good ones. So be careful with multivitamins, especially if they're on sale. If you need a recommendation, obviously let us know. We can send you a full script. Probiotics can be helpful. Not necessarily for everybody, but some people will detox a little bit better when they take a good probiotic. So if you need to know a brand, let me know. This one's a good one that's listed here, the Claire Labs one. Benegenics also has a good one. Here's another Claire Labs one, Therabiotic. And then fiber. So we already mentioned fiber, but what if you feel like, as we go through, we're going to show you how to add it up. What if you feel like you're not getting enough fiber? You can always add something like chia seeds, flax seeds, prune, like whole fruit or juice, or biotigen, which is a prebiotic powder. You can add those to your smoothies, or you can add them to water and just drink them. A lot of us are going to have to add a little bit of protein. And by that, I mean probably a protein powder to a smoothie 5 times a week, or if it's a 10-day reset, maybe 7, 8 times in that 10 days to make yourself a smoothie. If you find that you're not able to get enough calories and you need to like fit in a healthy dinner, sometimes a smoothie can be a good option too. I don't necessarily want you to eat 3 smoothies a day and that's it, but I think the smoothie can be really helpful if you like smoothies. So protein powders, there's Metagenics has a few of them. We have one of them here. It does contain alpha lipoic acid, which helps people detox, but the dose that we have in that one is actually not great if you have metal or mercury dentistry, metal fillings. So please don't use that one if you have metal fillings, and let me know if you have mercury fillings, and we'll talk about which protein powders are best for you. We can order them wholesale. We also have, the one we have here has been tested for heavy metals, so we know that it's a safe protein powder. There is a website where you can look up to see if your protein powder that you like is tested for heavy metals. And Kelly and I did this last Friday, and we found that a lot of the ones that we liked were not rated well. Consumer Reports has done an article on them. The bottom line is that anytime that you take a protein powder, you're taking a plant or animal product and you're concentrating it. So whatever was in it, especially something like heavy metals, you're going to make it worse. So you have to know that they're being third-party tested to make sure there's no heavy metals. A lot of people still need to take magnesium because it's just that our foods have been depleted. Some people also need vitamin D, but of course we can test you to know. Liver cleanse. So here's kind of, the liver cleanse idea is a very sexy word, you know? I mean, I don't like the word cleanse or detox because it makes people think of doing crazy things, you know, and not that many of us are actually in a place where we should start to stir stuff up in a way that is extreme. Eating fruits and vegetables, absolutely fine. Eating more protein, more fiber, absolutely fine. But doing something like castor oil, magnesium, like Epsom salt, and all sorts of stuff to like gallbladder cleanse, that's actually going to make us feel worse. So I don't recommend anything like that. However, there is a product over here, this liver cleanse tea, and this can be safe because it's small doses. I wouldn't start with 3 cups a day, just one, but it's burdock, dandelion, milk thistle, barberry, fennel, licorice, and ginger. And it tastes pretty good. It's not bad. You can add some stevia or honey, but it's pretty good in terms of a gentle detox. So that's what I mean when I say cleanse or detox. Okay, hold on. You guys had something come up in the chat, and now I lost it. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, so going back, fruit in a smoothie. Yeah, so fruit in a smoothie can be uncooked, especially if it's berries or banana where you've peeled the skin off. Some people are in a gut healing phase where something like apples, they would need to cook because the skin would need help breaking it down. I would prefer you ate the skin, but you cooked it in an apple if you're having any issues with like IBS-like symptoms. What about overnight soaked almonds? So soaked or sprouted almonds are a lot easier to digest, and you do absorb the vitamins in them better. Having said that, the roasted almonds, you do absorb the calcium better. How about steamed vegetables? Does that count as cooking? Absolutely. Steaming or sticking it in the pan for a minute and a half, that counts as cooking. We're not talking about, it doesn't have to be boiled or overcooked or baked or anything like that. Oh, the thing Kelly mentioned, it was a bummer and a surprise. When we looked up the protein powders, we were shocked at the ones that we see all the time in the stores and how they often contain heavy metals. So we've got to be careful with the products we're buying because these are not regulated things. So, you know, I think I said this to Chris this morning, you walk into a Target or a Costco and things are on sale and it's really tempting, but something like vitamin E from Target, they pulled it off the shelf and tested it and it didn't contain vitamin E. So you've got to be careful with things that are not being tested by another party. What about homemade pickles? So quick pickles, interesting. So I would prefer the ones that are not quick, that are more fermented, because that will break it down. In terms of cucumbers, a lot of people are not going to be able to digest the skin at all. You know, the idea though is that you can get to a place where you can digest it. But this is just in general for this group as a reset. Okay, go back to Dan. Dan said, what about coffee? So the guide that I'm giving you all gives you ideas for what to eat every single day for 10 days. I'm giving you two things right now when we hang up: a comprehensive guide, which is long and has recipes in the back, and a 2-page printout to remind you what to eat so that you can stick it on your fridge. Coffee's not on there, neither is alcohol, neither is gluten, neither is dairy. If you need to eat those or include those in order to complete this 10-day reset with us, please still join us. So I'm not going to be policing anybody, nor should you be policing yourself. The point of this is, how can this be helpful? So I think that's as far as I'm going to go with answering it. Kelly, can you post the name of the website? Clean Label Project. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, the cleanlabelproject.org. And there was a Consumer Reports. We looked up, I think, Vega, V-E-G-A protein powder. And there was a Consumer Reports article that was very helpful too. I know sometimes you have to pay for those, but this one was free. Vega protein powder. Just Google Consumer Reports and you'll see it'll come up. Homemade sauerkraut can be great. I mean, fermenting, just like with ceviche, fermenting can break down the proteins that would block you from absorbing the vitamins. So fermenting is great as long as you don't have a histamine issue. If you have allergies or you have a histamine issue, talk to me and we'll let you know what to do. Okay, the next thing I wanted to say is that some of us need vitamin D because there's so much air pollution at this latitude, we're not getting the right wavelength of sun. So you could sit in the sun naked all day and still not make enough vitamin D. You also need magnesium in order to absorb the vitamin D. So unfortunately, vitamin D may be something that everybody needs to take. But the payoff is it's anti-cancer, it's anti-depression, it's good for your sleep, it's good for your hormones. The tricky thing is it's fat soluble, so you do have to get your level tested. So make sure you get your vitamin D level tested. If I haven't done it, make sure I do or somebody does. And the last two things I wanted to mention were just calcium butyrate. Butyrate can be great at helping to heal the lining of the gut. If you do have leaky gut and you're trying to detox, the heavy metals or the toxins, they're tiny and they'll go into the stool and then they'll come right back out because they'll go through the lining of the intestine back into the bloodstream. So what we don't want to do ever is recirculate toxins. That's usually when we feel really bad brain fog, fatigue, fibromyalgia, those kinds of things. So we did do a talk on leaky gut, which I can send out if you want to see it. Butyrate is also in clarified butter or ghee. So I encourage you to cook with this, cook with coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, things like that. But, you know, fats have gotten a bad reputation, but as I think most people on this call know, fats are not bad for you. The problem is when we combine fats with high sugar and high carbohydrates. So as long as we're not doing that, you can have as much fat as you need. It's going to be filling. And so adding ghee, for example, like we've even done in my house, we're not vegan. So we've done greens cooked in bacon, right? And my kids love it. And it's so nice to see them eat their greens. Well, it turns out there was a study that said that you absorb the B vitamins better when you eat them in a high fat. So adding fat to your greens is actually, it's better absorbed, which is great for those of us that like that kind of stuff. But if you're vegetarian, you can also do this reset with us. There's nothing that says that you can't. And actually, Kelly, in that email that I sent out on, was that Sunday? Was that only yesterday? She also gave us a good list of, actually it might've been Saturday, everything that was high protein if you're vegan or you're vegetarian. And so you can certainly get enough protein. You just have to do a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit more planning to make sure that you get enough protein. Is ghee recommended for high triglycerides? Yes, because high triglycerides come from carbohydrate intake and not from fat intake. So yeah. Okay, so And then the last thing I wanted to mention was there are a few mitochondrial formulas that are capsules or powders that are all in combination. So if you and I have previously talked about how you have mitochondrial dysfunction, you could add that here and see if it helps you to feel better faster. The goal here is, what can you take on this list that makes your life a little easier, not that overburdens you with pills, right? Okay. So the last thing I just wanted to mention was, again, just my training has been through the Institute for Functional Medicine, and their motto is this: eat food, real food, not too much, mostly vegetables. So I know as soon as I see that, and I have this written down in my kitchen on the wall, as soon as I see that, I feel guilty and I feel bad about myself, because I think, oh my gosh, what did my breakfast plate look like? Or what did lunch yesterday look like? Wow, that was not mostly vegetables. And so if you're anything like me and you tend to be more type A personality, I'm asking you please to try to be kind to yourself. Everybody here is trying to just work on this. And we're just going to do the best we can. That's it. Okay. Is butyrate in other oils like avocado and olive? Nope. Nope. But ghee should be fine, Kelly, only because there's literally no dairy in it. Okay. Let me let Melanie in. All right. So that is it for my presentation. I want to kind of open this up to questions, and then I will open the comprehensive guide and show you guys the recipes and the plan. And Lauren and Kelly, if I forgot anything important, feel free to unmute and tell me what I forgot. Cooked spinach is great. Yep. Is anybody trying to unmute and having a hard time?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I had a question about protein powders. I just looked up the one that I've had and liked in the past, and it's not on there. It's Ollie brand. And I'm wondering if you have any information about that one or anywhere else I could check to see.
Is that one from Target, Tina?
It is.
Is it OLLIE?
Yep, I think.
Do you remember what flavor it is?
Chocolate. Now I'm thinking I might have spelled it wrong.
I think it's OLLY. I spelled it wrong. Okay, so plant-powered protein. Let me see. I'm going to do this really sophisticated thing. I'm going to type it into Google and then type the word heavy metal testing next to it and just see what we get. Okay, Consumer Reports. Okay, it's actually not in that Consumer Reports article. I'm not seeing it come up in terms of any third-party testing. So if I was you, you know, especially because you're breastfeeding, I would call the company. I know it's a pain, but I would ask them, you know, do you guys have any third-party heavy metal testing? I really like your product, but I don't want to keep buying it if you're not testing for heavy metals, because similar to when they process like CBD oil, they can accidentally be including it without realizing. Yes, we are going to email the recipes. I'm going to show you right now what I'm going to email everybody. And what about Metagenics? So we have like 8 bags of the, I just lost the name of it, the GI Replenish, which is great. It's got activated glutamine. It is not a vegan protein powder, but we do have it here if you need to get it wholesale. I also have a login, so you can go to the Metagenics website and pick any of their protein powders that are actually tested. The founders of the Institute for Functional Medicine actually founded that company with the intention of it being very pure. So it's a company that I trust. There's not that many that I trust after vetting them. And let's see. The last comment I wanted to make was this ultra clear. So there's also another one I like by Metagenics that I'm going to show you. I'm going to share my screen. So if you want to order this, this one I don't have in stock here at the office, but if you want to order this in order to start, you know, it's not cheap. This is actually before you get my discount though. Once you log in, it's less expensive. I think it's 30% off, but I could be wrong. But it is a big container, so it lasts a while. So, you know, it's a little tricky because you can't get a sample of it. So if you hate it, you're stuck with it. But this one it's broken down. So I feel confident that people will be able to digest the glycine, the methionine, the lysine, the threonine. These are all the amino acids that I want you to get during this detox. This one is rice protein. And this one is good for vegan or vegetarian. Oh yes, and Hiten, Kelly actually broke it down. So it looks really pretty. She broke it down and explained like, you know, chickpeas, and she went through the different vegetarian sources of protein, because our goal for everybody in general is try to get 60 grams of protein in a day. This is a little bit of a challenge. So Kelly actually explained to us how to calculate serving size and how to kind of estimate the grams so that you know if you're getting 60 grams. So that is our goal. I also want to show you, close this. I'm going to send out an email like this that has attachments. Here is the 2-page. Can everybody see this detox food plan, but the 2-page handout? So it's 1 page, and then if I scroll down, you can see the 2nd page here. It's kind of open in my email, so I'm hoping you can see it. Okay, awesome. Let me make it not that big. Okay, so this is the 1st page. So basically, you're trying to see, especially these foods that are darker in blue, those are the ones that are really important to make sure you get enough of. Here's your proteins section. Here's your legumes, which of course are safe protein sources when you're vegetarian. Here's your dairy alternatives. So we have almond, coconut, flaxseed, hazelnut, hemp, nut, oat, and soy milks, coconut kefir, coconut yogurt, soy yogurt. Okay. Here's all of your nuts and seeds, and she's encouraging you. The woman who developed this plan works for the Institute for Functional Medicine. She's encouraging you to get all of these, a little bit of nuts, if you don't have nut allergies, obviously. Fats and oils are all listed here. Again, everything on here is encouraged, but the blue is a little bit better at helping you detox. So just do the best you can. Sometimes you'll kind of go through. I like to put this on the fridge because it just reminds me you can eat all of these things. This is not supposed to be restrictive. And then here is your vegetables. So she breaks them up into non-starchy and then starchy. So non-starchy vegetables, we've got, actually all of these are considered. So I didn't list arugula in the brassicas, and I didn't list kohlrabi or radish. Some people love horseradish. Believe it or not, my 7-year-old loves horseradish. Cauliflower, cabbage. So anything like this, you're going to try to cook it at least 1.5 minutes. You don't want it to be super crunchy, because then you're not going to be able to digest it very well. Leafy greens. If you hate bok choy, that's totally fine. But is there another one in this family that you kind of like, especially if you add enough salt and garlic? When I'm sharing my screen, my chat goes away if I move my thing. I'll come back to the question real quick. Thiols contain more glutathione. Some people tell me they can't eat anything from this family. If this is you, then talk to me and we can talk about what to do regarding your glutathione. Okay. Is it possible, Chris, that you weren't on the list? It is definitely possible. So we'll make sure that everybody gets that email. Other non-starchy vegetables are kind of in their own category, but you know, jicama, however you say it, eggplant, cucumbers. I mean, you can add these to any dishes to just give it more color and more different textures. Squash, turnip. So they're kind of in their own category. And then starchy, actually, she didn't add starch here. Squash, she had these types of squashes, pumpkin, spaghetti, yellow, and zucchini are all less carbs. Acorn squash, however, has a little bit more carbs. So, but that's okay. It's still on the list. It's just a matter of, can you get a variety? So our goal is to see if we can get 6 to 7 fruits and vegetables every day. If that feels really easy, do more. If that feels really hard, just start with 3 or 4. Nobody's policing. In terms of fruits, you know, the ones again in blue, apple, blackberry, blueberry, cherries, grapefruit, all of these are lower in sugar and higher in vitamins. So that's why they're darker. But in general, any fruits here are good. Again, here's more fruits: raisins, raspberries, strawberries, tangerines. These can be great desserts. The other thing I love for dessert when trying to do this 10-day reset is actually golden milk. If you've never heard of that, we can send out a recipe for golden milk, or something like steel cut oats or quinoa can be great for dessert too. Add a little maple syrup. Okay. Let's see, quinoa, you know, these are your gluten-free grains. If you don't like quinoa, no problem. Do you like brown rice? Do you like buckwheat? Do you like millet? And then beverages. So here's what she includes. She includes green tea. I just want you to be careful if you're very sensitive to caffeine, try to get decaf. You know, and here's your beverages. So this is very nice because it's just 2 pages, but it summarizes everything we're trying to eat. And we just do the best we can with how much of this can we get every single day. This is also a journal that you can keep for 3 days to kind of keep track if you want to, if that makes it easier. If that makes it harder, then don't do the journal. And then here's the comprehensive guide. So the comprehensive guide is really nice because they give you more background than what I just gave you. So if you're interested and you're curious and you have a million questions, where did you get that information? Why are we being bombarded with chemicals? She does talk a lot about why. And this actually kind of explains there's 3 main factors why we accumulate toxins. We know that there's internal and external sources. We know that our genetic predisposition affects this. So if you've ever heard of the MTHFR mutation, it makes it harder to detox. Why? You don't absorb your B vitamins better. We know we need you don't absorb your B vitamins the best. So we know we need B vitamins to detox, right? And then the last thing she mentions here is the integration of proper nutrition and ongoing dietary ingestion of helpful detox nutrients. So, you know, the person who wrote this has been eating really healthy for 30 years. She's not new at this, but her point is, you know, we all want to look at food like it's medicine. Having said that, it's a lot more than just medicine, right? Food is love, it's comfort, it's, you know, I care about you, I thought of you, it's celebration, it's family, it's all of these things. So we're not trying to take away from that. I'm wondering if you can make little substitutions where you still feel really happy about what you're eating. If you're depressed about what you're eating, then I want you to stop. Okay. So this is a good kind of, you know, background. I summarized a lot of this. Let me go down and just show you some of the recipes. Towards the end, she gives you quite a few recipes, and she goes into more detail about why each type of food is helpful. It's a better picture than the one I showed you. Okay. So if this interests you, great. If not, don't worry about it. Okay, she answers some questions back here too. Should we fast? Some people do great fasting. Women that are still getting their period, I caution you to only fast before ovulation, not after. Fasting from ovulation to your period can cause more issues. I thought there were more recipes. Okay, there is a different booklet with more recipes. Yes, the weekly planner. So I'll send that out as well. But there are some really good explanations in that comprehensive guide. Okay, I'm also going to send out the sleep hygiene handout. I promised to do this during the adrenal workshop and I never sent it out. So I'll send this out. Just kind of a friendly reminder to try to avoid getting that second wind. You know, I mean, it's a problem during the winter because we turn on all the lights and then we wake back up after the sun has set. So I'll send that out as soon as we hang up. And then I do have a little handout that also gives you a lot of the websites I've already mentioned. This is a little bit repetitive here. There's other things you can add, like you can add charcoal, dry skin brushing. Kachari is just mung beans and rice. If you want just a simple recipe for something that'll really help your liver, that's something to try. Feel free to reach out and ask me if you should try that first. So these are my handouts that I'm sending to you. What other questions do we have? Let's see, chat.
Were we going to do that reflection, Kate?
Yeah, so we have a few minutes. So if anybody has a piece of paper, Kelly, do you want to lead it or do you want me to lead it?
Oh, you should do that.
I put you on the spot. Kelly's also babysitting.
I have some.
Yeah.
Yes,
You're
yeah.
busy
I have
right
some kiddos
now.
running around. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Can I mention one thing before we do the reflection?
Say that one more time.
Can I mention one thing before we do that, right? So I know people have been talking about recipes and everything, right? There's this book, a food pharmacy book that I got from Amazon. It's got a lot of gut bacteria, and it's a guide to gut bacteria and anti-inflammatory food recipes in there. In case if anybody wants it, I mean, there are a few pages that I've read and I really found it really useful. So I just wanted to pitch it over here so that in case if anybody wants it, they can go and get it.
Yeah, will you type the name in the chat, and then are you willing to take a picture of like your favorite one and share it with us, Hiten?
Definitely.
That would be great. I think if anybody wants to share anything, I think it'll make this a little bit more fun than me talking. Here we go. So if you have something to write on, what I'm asking you to consider is what part of this reset could be helpful for you. So maybe you really like the idea of printing out that 2-pager. Maybe you like the idea of just trying to get better sleep or more water, more hydration. Maybe the mindful movement actually kind of sparked your interest. Maybe the getting more greens or more protein. But is there one thing you can pull out right now that just feels like it is going to be really helpful for you? So if you want to, go ahead and jot that down just so you kind of remind yourself as we get started on Thursday. And the next thing I want to ask, if you don't mind writing this down or just hold on to the answer and we can share, is how could your life improve if you did these 10 days with us? So is there anything you can see that maybe it's your hope, or maybe it's something you know because you've done something like this before? Maybe you have no idea what's going to happen. That's okay. But is there anything that you think might improve in your life? Maybe it's so simple, you just want to wake up and be able to have a bowel movement once in the morning. And then the last thing is, what is your why? And I'm talking about like a big why. Like, for example, Mitch is one of our wellness coaches that works with a lot of our patients. And I was hanging out with him in January, a few weeks ago. And I said to him, I really would like to start to strengthen my lower body. I do a lot of yoga, but not enough, blah, 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 blah. And I went on this tangent and he said, why? And he kind of called me out. And I said, well, because really the bottom line is I have this 9-year-old that I want to be able to play basketball with, and I don't want to get hurt. And he said, okay, I can work with that, right? Because you've got a bigger why. So my question is, can anybody here think of, looking great and losing weight is fine, but is there a bigger why? Is there a wedding you want to get to in a couple years, or a family member's wedding coming this summer that you would like to get to, that you just want to feel like you have a lot of energy? Or if you have kids and they're grown, do you want to walk somebody down the aisle? Do you just want to be able to picture that you are vibrant and glowing and that you feel your best? Is it more brain health? Just thinking like, I just want to keep my memory as I get older. So is there a bigger why? Do you have somebody around you that kind of motivates you? Is it that you want to do some sort of bike that's a long distance and you just want to feel like you're in your best? Those are just really kind of silly examples, but anything could be your why. All right, does anybody, I know we're kind of out of time, but does anybody want to share? Oh, I had references to share. Here they are. Does anybody, while I put my references up, does anybody want to share any of the things that you just wrote down or things that have motivated you that you're hoping to get out of this?
I will, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did this detox for the first time last spring with you, and I realized how many of my symptoms, I really struggle with like anxiety and depression. And I realized how many of my symptoms really felt alleviated. I had less anxiety and I had less, like the feeling of doom is kind of like my depression, how it manifests. I feel like something terrible is about to happen. And it was kind of incredible after 2 weeks how much those feelings have subsided. And so that's really what encouraged me to try to keep eating a little bit better after that. And so I'm really excited about decreasing my levels of anxiety and depression, and also just being able to like keep up with my 4-year-old. And I really like what you said about like walking someone down the aisle. Like I want to be there for my kiddo. I want to be there through all of her things. I want to be there to be able to play with her when she's a teenager, to keep up with her when she's an adult. And so just feeling like I could do anything into late adulthood, right? Just feeling that feeling of freedom because my body is working at its best. So those are my whys and what I'm looking forward to.
Thanks for sharing, Kelly. I feel like I mentioned thoughts affecting our body and I forgot to mention the opposite, right? Our physical can affect our thoughts too, right?
Oh, well, that too. That's the first thing that when you said the toxic thoughts, that's what I'm focusing on too, is being aware of when thoughts like kind of creep in, because that awareness is the first step to sort of dealing with them and helping them go away, right?
Absolutely. Anybody else feeling brave?
I'll share, Kate.
Yeah.
My name's Megan. I just started working with Kate recently. I also suffer from pretty bad anxiety, and a lot of it stems around, or I guess the symptom of that is guilt around food and eating. So I'm excited to be a little bit more mindful, the mindful movement, and then just mindful about what I'm eating so I can hoping that will alleviate some of my self-guilt, and that causes my anxiety. And then my big why is my husband and I are starting to think about starting a family soon. So I just want to be the healthiest I can be so that I can carry a baby and make a healthy baby.
I love it, Megan. Thank you for sharing. I had somebody earlier today and she's 25 and she said, I know I'm really young to be thinking about this, but I want to get really healthy so that one day if I want to have a baby, and I was like, I love it because you're 25 and you're not calling me when you're 40 asking me that question.
Never too early.
Yeah. Thank you, Leslie. Yes, so we do have a Facebook group. It's within the Facebook page, and I will send it out because I'm forgetting what we called it. Maybe we can revive it from last time, Kelly and Laura. Mickey, do you remember what it was called? I think it was just the detox group, but I'm going to find it on Facebook when we hang up. And yes, and Alicia said, I'm suffering from really bad acne. I really hope this detox helps. Also very affected by stress at work lately. So I hope this nourishing food allows my body some ease. I love that because you talked, nourishing is the whole point, right? And that's why I really don't want people to feel like they're holding their nose and forcing themselves to eat Swiss chard if they hate Swiss chard, right? The whole point is, if we're eating the rainbow, all that matters is, can you find something red that you enjoy? Can you find something orange? Can you find something yellow? Go through the rainbow and see if you can find something of each color that you actually enjoy. And something I say to my kids that I would like to share is, you can also feel like, I don't want that food today, but try not to say, oh, I hate that food forever, right? Because you might like it if you try it again or if it's in a different recipe. So just trying to stay as open-minded as we can. And the recipes that we're going to send you guys are helpful. If you have any that are your go-tos and you just want to share, I think it would be great if we actually used that Facebook group to share recipes. But if it's easier and you're not on Facebook, I can also send them out in the email. Yep. If any of you have met Carla Johnston-Crace, who does some energy work in our co-op, she talks a lot about nourishing food and how can we make this feel light, right? So rather than you walking away with this like homework assignment, like how I feel about writing this dissertation, I would love it if you walked away feeling like this is an opportunity and let's just see how it goes, and reach out if it's not going well. That's okay.
Kate, I've got one last question from my
Yeah.
side. So for this whole detox plan, is there a sort of a percentage of calories that should be for carbohydrates? Like you should be exceeding more than some percentage of your diet for calories and carbs.
Yeah, so I actually want you to ignore calories. I know that's really hard to do, and it's probably goes against everything they do with like Weight Watchers or some of those. But the reason why is because I really believe if you get enough of the things on that list that are healthy fats and proteins, then you won't be hungry for the empty calories. And so, you know, see how it goes for 10 days. If it's awful and you gain weight, we can talk about what to do. But I would encourage you to try to ignore calories and try to just focus on, do you feel full? And do you feel like you're getting enough grams of protein? And also the fiber is something that we're asking you to try to keep track of. So every time you eat the skin of a fruit or vegetable, you're getting fiber, which is great. And of course, oats and flax seeds and things like that add fiber. So a lot of times if you're getting 7 fruits and vegetables in the day, you are getting enough fiber. So you may not have to even, and you know, if keeping track of it and adding it up feels too stressful, then just go for the 7. You can make this as simple as you want it to be. But yeah, Hitson, I know you love to kind of keep more track of stuff. So what I'll give you is I'll give you a breakdown more of like grams, and that way you can focus on fiber, protein, green leafy vegetables, and sulfur rich, those 4 instead of calories.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, awesome. I don't see any more questions rolling in. I really appreciate all of you taking your time today. I am here if you have some private questions. I'll be here for probably for another hour if you want to text me or message me in the portal. Things have been a little crazy. I think you guys, there was a full moon last week and things have been a little bit busy. So I'm also going to try to get through a bunch of messages right now. So if you're waiting to hear something from me, I'm so sorry. I promise I'll get back to you ASAP. Remember that calling me on the actual phone is the fastest way to get a hold of me, as opposed to text or messaging. But calling me on the actual phone, if you have something urgent, please do that. Especially if you get COVID, please call. So that's all I have. Stay safe. And oh, last thing is Kelly would be happy to meet with everybody again Friday, kind of on the 2nd day of doing the detox. Kelly, I feel like we said 3:30. Was that right? Or was it 3 o'clock? So if you can make
it was the 3 o'clock hour, but 3:30 is good. Yeah, just getting a feel for who is available and interested. So if we have enough people interested, then we'll get together.
I think it's really nice to meet again, at least once in the middle and once in the end, or even one more time during it. So if we can meet Friday at 3 p.m., great. If that does not work for you, if you don't mind, respond to my email that I'm about to send out and tell me if there's a time on Saturday that would work for you instead. So I'll put that at the bottom of the email. So, you know, sit tight and I'll send you, oh, you have a new job. I'll send you an email right now when we hang up. Yeah, so Denise, we can play it by ear too. And so right back to that email if you have a thought about when you can meet, if Friday at 3 p.m. does not work. Thank you, Dan. So we have 2 votes for Friday at 3. Hitson says Friday at 3. Okay, I'm going to keep track. If you guys don't mind, before you hang up, just vote. Are you good with Friday at 3 or would you like Saturday? Alicia, Megan, Mickey. So we've got 6 votes for Friday at 3. Tina, Friday works. Okay, so we've got 2 that maybe would be better for Saturday. 7, 8, 9. I have 9 votes for Friday at 3. Taylor, are you the iPhone one? Oh no, Taylor, you said yes. I got you. I got you. I got you. Okay, so we have 9 yes and 2 no. So I think we'll meet Friday at 3 p.m. and then we'll do another one. Maybe I'll do another one Monday or Tuesday. We'll play it by ear. When we meet Friday, we can decide when. Okay, so I'll see you Friday, most of you. And then have a wonderful week. Until then, if questions pop up, just respond to that email. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Kate.
Talk to you
Bye.
soon.
Thanks, Kate.